Calibrating cybernetics.
Talk to him now.
AT, Andre.
Come on, Dre.
Yep. Trippin with Let's Go. Woo! Trippin with Theobold.
What's your name?
Theo so bold.
Yeah.
Driggity. Let's go. Trippin with Theobold. Trippin.
What are we doing?
Trippin with Theobold.
Come on, Dre.
Mic check 1 2. Are we on? Holla if you hear me. Hey, welcome to the 116th episode of Trippin with Theobold. I'm your host, Andre Theobold, and welcome. As you can see, I'm coming to you live and hot from Theobold Studios, aka Do-It-Yourself Productions. Not half bad. I gotta come up with a name for this room, but right now we are coming to you live, bringing you this hot, can't cuss yet, but we bringing you this hot stuff from Trippin with Theobold land. Before we go any further, make sure you guys hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, tell a friend to tell a friend, and do all that fun internet stuff, like the old people say, internet. 2 N's, no T. Sorry, 2 N's, 1 T. All right. As y'all can see, got on my Stephen Ambrose Tours hat. I got this when I went on the tour to follow the footsteps of the women of the 6888. So, as promised, when an episode number has a 6 in it or an 8 or any combination thereof, I'm gonna do something 6888 centric. So that's what we're doing today. You know what I'm saying? But before we do that, we gotta take care of some housekeeping, man. I gotta start off with these tongue twisties. It wouldn't be Trippin with Theobold if we didn't do the tongue twisties. All right. So today's tongue twisty is brought to you by letter F. So for those of y'all that are listening, you can listen to me struggle, or you can say it along with me. For those watching, you can watch me struggle, or you can participate. The choice is yours. You always have a choice over here in Trippin with Theobold land. But here we go. Let's go ahead and get these out the way. Number 1, the flustered florist frantically fixed a faulty vase filled with fragrant flowers before the fussy family arrived. Wow, how did I make it through that? One more again. Gotta put the hat backwards on this one, so I gotta make sure I'm going to work on this. The flustered florist frantically fixed a faulty vase filled with fragrant flowers before the fussy family arrived. One last time. The flustered florist frantically fixed a faulty vase filled with fragrant flowers before the fussy family arrived. Number 2. Fresh French fried fly fritters. Whoa. That was weird. I wanted to say French fries, but it's not French fries. Fresh French fried fly fritters. One more again. Fresh French fried fly fritters. Final one. 4 furious friends fought for the phone. One more again. 4 furious friends fought for the phone. And one last time. 4 furious friends fought for the phone. Yay. Tongue twisters are done. Got them out the way. Here we are. Heads up too. Like I said, I'm working on some Trippin with Theobold merch. Working on some prototypes. I got some ideas. Like I said, I don't want to. Can I cuss yet? Yeah, I can cuss. I don't want to mass produce some bullshit that I can't get rid of. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to waste. Like, I want to make sure I tinker and get. So I'm working on my prototype. I want to have my prototype. Hopefully, the goal is to be wearing my prototype Trippin with Theobold merch around June-ish. That would be the goal, the stretch goal. But what I want to do is I want to have it in stages, so for example, we got this right now we're in spring and summertime's coming up. So I want to have, Trippin with Theobold tees. I want to have a tee and I want to have a dad hat. That's what I want to have. I want to have a tee, a dad hat, and a snapback. All right, I don't wear fitteds, but a snapback. If I could find a company that does it, come on, Dre. I can find a company that does a good snapback, like, I want high quality, high end snapback, like a 47, not 47 brand. I like their dad hats, but like a Lids or a New Era, like that kind of quality is gonna be on and popping, man. But goal, like I said, for spring, summer, t-shirt, dad hat, snapback, early fall. I'm looking at doing a prototype fisherman beanie, because I wear fisherman beanies a lot, and a hoodie, and then deep winter maybe do like another hoodie style and an actual beanie for the winter. You know what I'm saying? So that's the goal. That's what we're doing over here in Trippin with Theobold land. We over here working for you. But now let's go ahead and get on with today's show, today's episode. So today's episode, like I said, is 6 AAA centric. You know, if you hear a dog barking outside of the studios, just ignore that. It's kind of distracting to me. Maybe my mic is picking it up. I don't think it is, but dogs shouldn't be barking after 9:30 at night outside. Like, keep that shit in your house. Anyways, here we are. So today's episode, like I said, is 6 AAA centric. One of the major questions I have regarding the 6 AAA is, what were all like the tasks? Like, what were all the roles of the women in the 6 AAA? Because I highly doubt that they all did the same thing. I feel like there were tiers of things that they had and how they arranged it. I have a couple books. Maybe the answers are explained in the book. Maybe they're not. But the book I'm starting with, I'm going to pull it up right now because I'm actually reading this book right now. Is entitled, can't see it. It's entitled "One Woman's Army." A black officer. How did I do that? Yeah, the book I'm reading is called "One Woman's Army." A black officer remembers the Women's Army Corps, by Charity Adams Early, and better known as Major Charity Adams. So let me show y'all a picture right quick, kind of drive it home. But this is the iconic 6 AAA photo. Nice if let me actually bring this down so I can point to it. 1 second. Okay. Hold on. There we go. There we go. So I can point to it. There we go. So my grandma is right there. And this is Major Charity Adams. There. That's Major Charity Adams. Major Charity Adams. That's Major Charity Adams. And my grandma is right. I would really be terrible at doing the weather because I can't point to anything. But my grandma's right there. Major Charity Adams is here. All right. So everything's kind of coming like, full circle, but anywho, yeah, my grandma was in this unit. And like other members of the 6 AAA, they didn't talk about what they did. We didn't find out my grandma. My mom knew my grandma served in the military. Then go up. Sorry, give me one. Over here and do it yourself productions. Pay for what you get, right? Pay for what you get. I want this. With yourself productions. Again. Try that. Okay. I'm just gonna leave it as is. That's fine. Anywho, so like a lot of other 6 AAA members, they didn't really talk about their service or what they did exactly, And I remember the first time I found out my grandma was in this photo, right? I think I was in high school, and one of my grandma's neighbors or someone that she knew came, and she was like, "Aunt Indiana," like that's what they call my grandma's first name was Indiana, and everyone just call her Aunt Indiana, and they were like, "Aunt Indiana, your photo's in this book," and my grandma was like, "My photo ain't in no damn book," and then they brought the book, and my grandma looked at it and was like, "Oh yeah, that is me." And that's when we first got wind that, oh wow, she was in something big. And then over the years, it just unfolded, and now there's a 688 movie coming out by Tyler Perry by the end of the year. But anywho, like I said, one of the major questions I had about the 688 is what were all the different roles within the 688, because I highly doubt they all did the same thing. So I figured, you know what? Let me go ahead and start with, the leader of it, Let me go ahead and start with Major Charity Adams, right? So I started reading her book, and it's a very interesting book, man. I'm working my way through it, and I'm probably gonna do a couple episodes where I just, talk about like my experiences or my reactions to what I'm reading in the book, But these were some of the things that I got from the book, and yeah, boom. Like my Uncle Sammy would say, let's just go with it, right? Like I said, if I don't know what to say, I just say boom, right? So anyways, so one thing that I found interesting about her book is or what she recalled or what she recanted is when she was young, she I believe was born or raised in Columbia, South Carolina, and she said that she remembers watching the KKK parade march in her neighborhood, so that to me was like, it's ironic, like the one thing I thought about was, like I said, this is Trippin with Theobold, so we trip over here in speech and thought. But the one thing I thought about was I was like, man, how ironic it was for, or the thing I thought about was how many of those people in the parade in the KKK under the hoods served in World War II. You probably had a couple people that served in World War II, on the front lines. And they marched in her neighborhood, projecting hatred, of black people, and lo and behold, she was like the head person in charge of resolving the male backlog issue, right? So if it wasn't for her in the 688, members of that KKK parade, their families probably wouldn't be in touch, So to me, it was just real ironic. That's how I think about things, how things kind of, you never know. At the end of the day, you never know who is going to be there to help you out in the end, I guess that's the moral of the story, if you want to look at it that way. And then something else that stood out to me when I was reading her book, or where I'm at is how stupid racism is, yo. Like racism is, like, we all know it's stupid, but it's just, there's no logic. Like racism is an emotional response to shit, or can I cut? I can still cuss. YouTube or whatever, you gotta wait 2 minutes before you can start using foul language. I'm not trying to overuse it. I'm just trying to talk free or freer, because you know how it is. Can't really talk as free as you want, but we can do the best that we can. But to me, it's funny how like just, when she's giving her, like when she's recalling all this stuff, it's funny. It's just racism just transforms into something else, like I didn't even think about this, or I didn't even know about this, but back in her days, racism basically, you never called blacks Mr. or Mrs. during her time, they would call people, or they would call black people by their first name. But if you had a degree or like a title, like if you were a doctor, or if you were, if you had a title, they would call you Dr. such and such. So to me, that's stupid, like, right? Because you did a lot to earn the title doctor, but they didn't like you see how that doesn't make any sense, right? It's like if you earned the right to be called doctor, they called you doctor, but you would think that with racism, they would try to discount that, but you were not good enough to be a Mr. or a Mrs. And you don't have to do anything to be called Mr. or Mrs. You know, so to me, it just shows you it just shows you how stupid racism is, man. You know, and how the shit just kind of like retransforms itself. You know, but that to me is something that stuck out. Another thing that stuck out in the part that I'm reading right now is, according to like her youth, or what she said is that she read a lot. Like, you know what I'm saying? And my grandma read a lot, you know, like my grandma read probably every time I saw my grandma, she was always reading something, you know? So, I don't have the attention span to like read like that, you know? My mom used to get me the Hardy Boys books, and I would struggle with them books, man, because I just couldn't sit. I couldn't stop from falling asleep, man, you know? But that was interesting how, you know, how my grandma, Major Adams, you know, how they, from a young age, they just read a lot. Like they just were just reading stuff. Like, in her book, she was basically saying, how her and her siblings, they would all get the books and they would basically be reading and they would pass them around each other. They would read the books and they would get to the point to where they had to get new books, you know, and then their dad is like, yo, how y'all reading these books this fast, you know? Then it got to the point to where he would like quiz them on the books, you know? And then something that like stuck out was how and I think this was a skill that she got just by reading a lot, but basically she said she read these books, what was it? Horatio Alger, right? And there was like a series of books. I don't know who it is, I don't know what it's about, but basically the plot was the same. And when she was reading, she was basically, what I kind of got from it was when she read, she was able to say, okay, this book is pretty much the same as the other books, but there's some small details that are probably different. What are those details that are different? You know? So when her dad asked her questions about the book, she knew the plot, and then she knew a couple of the things. So like her dad wouldn't read the whole book. So it's like, you know, the things he would pick up on, they already got it, you know? So that's something that I could have probably used in my youth, right? Like with the Hardy Boys books, you know, like those books are probably all the same, you know? And typically the Hardy Boy books are pretty much like the same. Like basically their dad is a professional detective. It's either summer break or they're getting ready. They're in high school. They're about to get off a break or they're about to do something. And they snoop around. They overhear their dad say something, and then they want to go jump in on the case. They want to help solve the case, and then they save the day. Right? It's like that's pretty much the gist of the Hardy Boys, you know. But it's the details, you know. So I never even thought to read like that or even thought about that, you know. But you know, I'm just looking for trends to see, okay, what did she do versus like my grandma and vice versa, you know? So, but yeah, what else, man? Then I think when she said she got to college, this is where something that I saw that we had in common. She got to college and when she was doing math, they would teach her proofs and theorems, but she didn't want to memorize she didn't care for memorizing the theorems or the proofs. She wanted to, she preferred taking the facts and then coming to the results, right? So basically she wanted to think her way out of a paper bag is the quote that like I use, right? Is you want to just think through things, you know? So in school, big problem I had was I got tired of memorizing stuff, you know? Like when I was in high school, middle school, we had to memorize stuff, but I didn't like to just memorize to just spit something out. I wanted to be able to say, okay, if I get this and get this and get that, can I figure out that? You know, like that was kind of how that's how my mind is wired, you know, which is kind of like how she was, you know. the proofs and the theorems, yeah, memorizing those to me is not what I wanted to do, but I wanted to be nice enough to where I could prove or derive those theorems. Because in math, in school, and like in math, basically there are, like, if you look at the ways how math is taught around the world, um the way it's taught is in some areas, like I think in like England or whatever, they might, like when it comes to calculus, they teach like theorems, and you have to prove and derive like the Riemann sum theorem or the limit theory. Like you guys got to go back and prove all that. But if you can prove that and if you can understand that, you can solve any problem that deals with that, right? So it's like you learn one theorem that covers hundreds of problems, right? The way we learn math in the US, or the way I learned math, was you look at an example and then you just do that example 100 times. And then when you see a problem that looks like that example, you then basically just try to plug and chug it, but you don't really know the theory, or you don't really derive the theorem behind it, So I didn't really care for that. Basically, it's the whole concept of doing 100 problems to learn one theory versus learning one theorem that covers 100 problems. So so when I read that, I'm like, yeah, that definitely like struck a chord with me. Um and then the one thing that was dope too that I liked when I was reading like the first chapter of her book was when her parents left her, like not left her, when she left her parents to go to college. The last thing I think they said before she left to go to college was, "We have tried to teach you right from wrong, just do right." That is like powerful, man. That is like really powerful, right? The key word is tried. We have tried to teach you right from wrong, right? Meaning that, I taught you something and you didn't get what I was saying and I didn't do a good job of teaching it, or I didn't understand something enough to potentially, basically, long story short, is I didn't give you everything that you needed, but, at the end of the day, just do right. Like that to me is very, it's very humbling because, when you're like when you're an authority, it's like you have kind of like this, you can have this like godlike complex to where, you know, you did your part. Now it's like if you just don't do it, then that's your fault. No, it's like I'm human too, right? That's basically what her parents were saying. So that was pretty dope. Um and then the part I left off at was she was talking about in college how they had this thing called punching, right? And I me, college and my mind just goes to a whole nother area. But basically it was, the way I think she described it was being seen on campus with a boyfriend or a girlfriend. So really it was like, you caught holding hands, or you're kind of like, hey, hey, we're a thing, right? That's called punching. I thought it was something different. So I mean, anyways, yeah, I don't want to go there. But no, that's where, I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to just gather pieces and clues to try to figure out, because I want to know exactly what my grandma did when she was in the 6 888, when she served overseas. I want to know exactly what she did, right? Because my grandma had a real unique way of sorting mail. Like you could not, when she got her mail, when she was living with my mom and her mail came to the house, she would have the mail set up in a certain way to where you couldn't touch it. And if you move something, you knew when you move something, she knew that you moved something. And even in like her 90s, man, she was like, "Hey, why is this not here? This is missing." So I want to know kind of like, how, I want to know like what the different roles were and what my grandma's role specifically was in the 6 888. So I'm just gonna keep asking questions and keep doing research. Oh, I forgot to mention, I got my Rouen mug. I got this when I was in Normandy, visiting my. I got this when I was doing the tour of following the footsteps of 6888. This was like probably on the back end of the trip. We went to Rouen. Like at first I was pronouncing it Rouen. It's not Rouen. It's pronounced Rouen, or some people just say Rouen. All right. Like if you're in France, it's Rouen. I think they say Rouen or Rouen. Right. It's like Rouen, Rouen. But now we got this when we were in Rouen. This is where if history serves me correct, I believe this is where Joan of Arc was I think this is where she was put to death at, So there was a famous, so basically we basically went to all the places where they took iconic photos at. And this was by the Joan of Arc monument where she was killed. We went to Rouen. I went inside the car. I went inside the gift shop. I had to get me a Rouen mug, and I got it. If I see any markings on it. Nope, no markings. Nope. Just Rouen, Normandy. So anywho, like I said, I'm gonna keep working through the book. Like I said, I mean, I just want to I think starting with Major Charity Adams and just kind of knowing like what her background is, where she came from, what were her parents like. Right now, we have a good idea of what her parents were like, what type of household she grew up in, how she was in school, So I think or how she saw racism through just how she explains everything. So I think through reading the book, if I don't get I'm not expecting to get all the answers from this one book, but I'm trying to just have this kind of be the anchor point so I can point to other books and say, okay, well, if this is true, then what else is true? That's how I'm trying to approach this, But at the end of the day, I want to be able to know exactly what my grandma did specifically, what were all the different roles within the 6888, and people probably have the answers out there, but I got to do my own research. I got to do my own investigation, and that's what I'm going to do. So, like I said, I'm going to keep working through this book. I'm going to keep asking questions. I'm going to keep pointing out things that kind of stand out to me. And the next episode, so basically, every episode that ends, and every episode that has a 6 or an 8 in it, or any combination thereof, is going to be 6888 centric. So I'm going to keep working through One Woman's Army. And yeah, so I think that concludes today's episode of Trippin' with Theobold. Thank y'all for tuning in. Don't forget, AT is where it's at on most forms of social media. So follow me. And make sure, you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you tell a friend, tell a friend, and tell a friend, and do all that fun internet stuff like the old people say. But with all that being said, I'm out of here, folks. Peace. Yep. Trippin' with Theobold.
Let's go.
Caliente.
Trippin'. Yep. Trippin'. Trippin'. Trippin' with Theobold.
Trippin' with Theobold.